Hello, this is Mr. Anderson for Kellogg Community College, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking on the 8th edition book. We're going to look at page 138. We're going to look at problem number 12. Since this is an even numbered problem, you'd probably want to see this out if it's not in the solution manual. And I want to talk a little bit about finding standard deviation. The book has its own formulas. In fact, you can use that formula, but on the test, I have a whole new form that I want you to fill out for that, and you've seen that on the practice videos. But I want to show you something kind of cool with the graphing calculator. So this might be a little deeper than what we've been doing in class, or at least online class. But what this is going to do is show you a great way to check your answer, and also it's going to show you how to fill out that chart and not make any simple mistakes. So if we look at problem number 12, I've already loaded the data into my calculator. So if I click the stat and enter, you would have to type in all of the salaries, starting teacher salaries for Europe here. This is Sweden, Germany, and other countries located into list 1. And what you'll need to do is you'll need to get, the first part of our getting our standard deviation is to get the average. So we're going to go stat, right, enter, and it automatically loads list 1 into that. So just to show you that, I'll hit the second key in 1. So this is going to do the one variable stats for list 1, and it does that, and it gives us our average, which is $34,637 average starting teacher salary in Europe. So here's our average, and I'm going to write this down, 34,637. Now I'm going to need that because I'm going to use that and do my work here. Now you'll notice there's something else really handy on the screen. We're going to come back to it at the end of the problem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the stat and go back over here. And what I'm going to do now is take these data values in list 1 and subtract them from the average. Now look where the cursor is. If I go up to the very top of the screen, it takes me to this blank space here. If I say I'm going to take my list 1 and subtract my average, which is 34,637, I get the differences in list 2 now. You'll notice that some are negative and some are positive. When we did these problems in class, we never cared about the negatives versus positives, because what we're going to do after that is we're going to square this list. And so we're going to square this list by taking list 3. I'm going to take list 2, so I'm going to go second 2. And I'm going to hit the square key, like so. And that's going to take every value in list 2 and square it for list 3. And there you go. Now, you'll notice that these have like E8s and E7s by them. What you can do is you can kind of move your cursor down like so, and you can actually get the exact value, so you could write that down on your piece of paper. But what we need to do then is add all of these up. And I will do that so by going stat right, and I'm going to hit enter here, but I'm going to go list the list 3 right there, and that sum of everything there is this second line right here. So this is the sum, and what we would do next to find the standard deviation is we would take that sum, and I'm going to just keep it here right on the screen and type it one key at a time, just not wavering from those numbers. Okay, and then we would divide that by n minus 1, which is the number of samples in that problem minus 1. So Sweden, Germany, Spain, Finland, Denmark, Netherlands, Scotland, that is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to divide this by 6. Then I'm going to take the square root of that number, and I can, instead of typing in all these numbers again, I can click second this negative key, and it pops up the answer. So I'll take the square root of the answer, and now I find my standard deviation as 7,609, and since we were all given whole numbers, we're going to round this to 1 decimal place, so 7,609 and 8/10. So that's going to be my standard deviation, or I'll just call it my S. It's usually a lowercase s, but Microsoft Word keeps wanting to make it capital. $7,609.80. So if you're going to be a first-year teacher in Europe, you're going to be paid about $35,000 with a give or take, normally about $7,500 on the high and the low side of that. Okay, so the last part of the problem is going to ask about finding the CVAR, which is going to basically test how it varies and how much variation it has. And the CVAR is when you take the standard deviation and divide it by the average. So I'll bring my calculator back up here again. So I'm going to take my 79. Actually, you know what? I'll just do a little lazy thing here. I'm going to go my answer divided by, because it's my 7,609, divided by my 34,637, and I get my CVAR, which is roughly 20, whoops, where was that again? 21.97, so we'll just round that to, hold on, 22%. Percent. Okay, so that was for Europe. So let me title this here. And now we're going to go to Asia. And look at that data. We're going to look at the average. We're going to look at all these three things here. We're going to look at average. Oops. We're going to look at S. We're going to also look at CVAR. Okay, so now what I've done here, since I worked ahead a little bit, is I've actually, let me clear this screen here. I don't want to do any of that. There we go. Okay, so I actually typed in the data into list 1. Now, it's best to clear out your lists by going up to the top and hitting clear, then enter. Top, clear, then enter. One thing, before I clear out list 1, can I do my stat right 1 enter and show you that this on this screen tells you the standard deviation, which is right over here. Both of these are for standard deviation. This is for data sets under 30 pieces of data. This is for over 30 pieces of data, generally speaking. So yeah, we could have just used this, but you know, on my test, I'm going to have you, show me all the pieces and parts to finding the standard deviation. Taking the difference from the average and then computing it with the n-1. So you do need actually just more than just slapping the answer down. But isn't that a great way to just check your answer? All right, so let's get back to business here. I am going to clear this data out, and I saved all my data in list 6, so I'm just going to copy my list 6 data here, and presto, here is the average salaries in Asia, Korea, Japan, India, Malaysia, Philippines, and Thailand. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to find the average of this, so stat right 1 enter, and our average is $16,326.33, or we're going to round to 1 decimal since we were given whole numbers in the problem. And yeah, there's the standard deviation, but let's go through and figure out what we need to know for the test. Okay, so my average is $16,326, and I'll round it to 1 decimal place, 30 cents, because we were given whole numbers in the problem. That's our boundary rules coming into effect. Okay, so what do we do next? We are going to go back to the stats, and we're going to take our list 1 and subtract our $16,326.30. Now, we could actually do it in the other way. It doesn't matter because the negatives are irrelevant, because what we're going to do in list 3 is square all the values of list 2. So I went second 2 and then squared it. Ba-bam. There you go. And again, these numbers are really big, so you can just scroll down these one by one, and that way you can write that down on the test or on your homework, wherever you need to. Okay, so then what we'll do is we will add all these up, and so I'm going to go stat right second 3, or sorry, stat right enter second 3. And for newer calculators, you just choose your it brings up a page, and the page would then let you choose which list you want, and then click to calculate. This is an older calculator, though. All right, so here is my X bar right there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully copy it, because I have to divide that by n-1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Divide it by 5, since I had 6 items in my... I should have just looked right here instead of counting in the book. I feel kind of silly now. But anyway, you divide by 5, so let's go do that. Let's go 3... And I'm just carefully copying this into my calculator here. 103.3. Divided by 5, and there you go. And then we will take the square root of that. And I'll just cheat here by going second negative. And there you go. There's my standard deviation right there. 8,054. And we're going to round it to 0.5 there, so roughly 8,500. Hold on. $54.50. Whoa, $8,054.50. Okay, so let's look and see which varies more. Oh, it just keeps wanting to do that to me here. So what I'm going to do is take this and take this answer here, which is my 8,054.5, and divide it by 16,326.3. Wow, bam. Yeah, that CVAR is going to be 49%. 49%. So if you are going to, if you're going to be a first-year teacher in Europe or Asia, look at your standard deviation compared to the average pay. I mean, here, the 7,000 compared to the 34,000 is only 24%. But here the standard deviation is almost half the average pay. So if you're looking at just the average without the variation, you might be in for a shock when your pay is normally between $8,000 and $24,000 based on American currency. Hopefully the cost of living and other things will weigh that out there, but Asia definitely varies more in the problem for first-year teacher salaries. All right, well, I hope this helps out. And again, if you wanted to go back to stat right 1 enter, you can see that, oh, look, the standard deviation is right there. It's a great way to check your answer, but I really feel like you should know how to fill out the chart on the test, because I need you to see where the standard deviation comes from and how it's made. And then after this unit test, we're just going to let the calc do it. All right, well, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed watching.